Tonight, mixed messaging.
Feasibility of determining who's vaccinated and who's not among students is really going to be challenging.
New guidance for kids and masks as the Delta variant rips through the United States. And as the U.S. blames China for cyber attacks, a look at a critical piece of Chinese-made hardware.
Transformers have been called by many people the Achilles heel of the electric grid.
Plus, billionaire Jeff Bezos and 3 others make history launching into space. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
COVID cases on the climb again in the United States. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm Jenna Browder.
Good evening. I'm John Jessup. The highly contagious Delta variant now accounts for 83% of all sequenced COVID-19 cases here in the United States.
The CDC says the U.S. is now averaging 30,000 new coronavirus cases a day, a spike in the weekly average of nearly 300% in just the last month. The senior Washington correspondent Tara Mergener is here now with the latest and why sparks are flying on Capitol Hill.
Well, John and Jenna, the discussion on Capitol Hill turning testy between the nation's top infectious disease expert and a senator as accusations fly about the origins of COVID.
At a hearing intended to chart a path forward, Dr. Anthony Fauci found himself backtracking and on the defense.
And you are implying that what we did was responsible for the deaths of individuals. I totally resent that. And if anybody is lying here, Senator, it is you.
Senator Rand Paul again accusing Fauci of lying about NIH funding for gain-of-function research in China, a process which alters a pathogen to make it more transmissible.
How you can say that is not gain-of-function?
It is not.
It's a dance, and you're dancing around this because you're trying to obscure responsibility.
The two also at odds over whether people remain at risk of COVID after they've had it or been vaccinated. Meanwhile, fears continue to rise along with cases thanks to the highly contagious Delta variant, as 37 states blame it for more patients entering their hospitals.
Over the last week, we have averaged 239 deaths per day, an increase of nearly 48% over the prior week.
Many of the sick said to be children.
This is probably about the 10th leading cause of death for kids in the past year.
With a new school year about to begin, the question of mask wearing in the classroom is again intensifying. On Monday, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommended universal masking in schools for students and teachers alike.
The feasibility of determining who's vaccinated and who's not among students is really going to be challenging.
Pressure is building on the CDC to reverse its guidance to require masks in schools, regardless of vaccination status. Right now, children under 12 are not eligible. Thousands of miles away in Tokyo, COVID is taking a growing toll at the Olympic Games. An alternate on the U.S. gymnastics team becomes the latest to test positive. This a day after one of America's biggest tennis stars withdrew after a positive test. Meanwhile, the CDC still insisting that the unvaccinated are still the most vulnerable.
New CDC data is also showing COVID deaths leading to major hardships for American children, with nearly 120,000 losing a primary caregiver to the virus. John and Jenna.
All right, Tara Mergener, thank you very much. And joining us now is John Quelch, University of Miami Business School Dean and a former professor of health policy and management at Harvard School of Public Health. John, welcome. It's great to have you with us this evening. New concerns over the rise of the Delta variant come as the Biden administration struggles to reach its vaccination goal. How can health officials overcome vaccine hesitancy?
It's an excellent question, and obviously the latest data and the virulence of the Delta variant will actually help, I think, nudge more people to get vaccinated, and younger people in particular to be vaccinated who have not participated as widely in the vaccination program. But basically what we need is more of a precise, targeted messaging against particular populations and subgroups who have different reasons for not having so far been vaccinated. If I can just briefly summarize, there's one group of minority and perhaps rural Americans who are still not succeeding in accessing conveniently the vaccines. They need to speak to trusted people in their communities to help them gain access to those vaccines. A second group, young people who think they're invincible and that can't happen to them. They need to hear from their peers, people who they trust, to tell them, hey, it's not a good thing to die from COVID. That's pretty dumb. Get vaccinated. You're not going to be a hero by not doing so. And then thirdly, perhaps another group that's tough to convince are the individual freedom / more libertarian-minded folks who really don't like to be told what to do by government. And maybe 40 years ago, those are the people who wouldn't have been wearing seatbelts when seatbelt wearing became mandatory. So different groups need different messages targeting their particular concerns and their particular attitudes.
You're talking about different groups, but we know that you've written, John, that there's a right way and a wrong way to get people vaccinated. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Well, I think the right way is always to meet people on their own terms and not to be authoritative, not to be judgmental. There is, of course, a large plurality of Americans, as there is in most countries, who respect experts like Dr. Fauci, for example, who accept science and follow accordingly and trust the government to tell them what to do. But there is a minority of people, and not insignificant minority, who are not interested in that kind of an argument. And when I say a right way and a wrong way, the right way is to meet people on their own terms in dialogue. For example, if you have a relative who has not been vaccinated or a co-worker who's not been vaccinated and you've been vaccinated, it's no use to say to them, you're stupid for not being vaccinated. You have to engage with that individual on their terms and ask questions as to why do you feel that way, and try and work them towards a more positive disposition.
A new Axios-Ipsos poll shows Americans are growing more concerned about COVID-19, but they're also unwilling to take additional precautions or to change their behavior. Where does that leave health officials in terms of fighting this virus?
Yeah, so I think, without repeating myself, what we find typically is that public health officials are very sincere people who trust science and trust expertise. And they are not necessarily versed in how to convince people who don't trust experts and who don't trust science to do so. They're not really attuned to managing the conversations that are necessary with these groups of people, whether or not they are invincible or for other reasons don't trust the expertise of public health officials. They are scientists first, communications experts second. And if I can just illustrate this very briefly, there's a document that was delivered by the Surgeon General last week, which is called Confronting Health Misinformation. It's a very worthy document at the strategic level, but it really doesn't get into depth about the tactics of messaging.
Unfortunately, we are out of time. John Quelch with the University of Miami Business School, thank you so much for your insights and being with us today.
Thank you.
Well, to the battle over abortion and the issue of using taxpayer dollars to pay for them. The debate in Washington is heating up.
Last week, a key congressional committee voted to eliminate the Hyde Amendment, a measure that prohibits federal funding of abortions that both sides supported for decades. For more on where things stand, we turn now to our Capitol Hill correspondent, Abigail Robertson. Abigail?
That's right, John and Jenna. For more than 40 years, the Hyde Amendment has been included in budget bills with bipartisan support. But this year, progressive Democrats hope to end that tradition.
They've taken a far left turn in terms of their ideology.
Congressman John Molinar told CBN News' Faith Nation he's disappointed many Democrats, including President Joe Biden, no longer support the long-standing measure.
Now he has thrown the taxpayers under the bus, and is also actively, when you start to subsidize abortion, you're encouraging more of it, and he's very much changed his tune on that.
Molinar believes we should be using that money to pay for abortion alternatives.
We ought to be encouraging adoption. We ought to be protecting the lives of the unborn.
He thinks the House will likely pass the budget without Hyde, but not the Senate.
I'm optimistic that we can still have a backstop in the Senate.
Pro-life advocates agree.
A majority of Americans do not want their taxpayers' money going to fund abortion.
Quigley says GOP Senator Mike Braun attended the House Appropriations meeting last week to send this message.
If they send a bill back to the Senate that does not include the Hyde Amendment that forces taxpayers to fund abortion on demand, that this is simply a non-starter and the bill is not going to pass the Senate.
Democratic Senator Joe Manchin says he won't support a budget bill without Hyde.
So far, he's been very strong, but we want to, of course, make sure that he continues to hear from the pro-life movement inside and outside of his state to know that he's the role that he's representing more than just West Virginia at this point because of the key role that he's playing in this tight margin Senate.
Even if Democrats don't have Manchin support, Quigley believes it's unlikely they will concede by adding Hyde to the appropriations bill.
I think what's more likely is that they will just continue to be at a standoff on this issue, and they'll end up having to pass continuing resolutions, which would fund the budget fund the government at the same level as we did under the Trump-Pence administration.
Pro-life advocates also argue this is an issue of justice and equality. That's because the majority of taxpayer-funded abortions performed within Medicaid are disproportionately performed on women of color. John, Jenna?
All right. Thank you, Abby. Coming up, why tomorrow's deadline for a vote could blow up President Biden's hopes for a bipartisan infrastructure deal.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
I think as a father, it's my job, to lead, just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
Welcome back. Tonight, massive wildfires across several western states are spreading smoke as far as Canada and New York. This as extreme weather fuels a major wildfire in Oregon. Oregon officials are asking wildfire crews to prepare for additional fires due to lightning strikes. The bootleg fire is burning 300 miles southeast of Portland and spans more than 500 square miles, about a third the size of Rhode Island. At least 70 homes and over 100 buildings have gone up in flames. So far, 2,000 homes have been evacuated.
Republicans are threatening to scuttle a bipartisan infrastructure deal if Democrats proceed with their vote in the Senate tomorrow. GOP leader Mitch McConnell said Republicans will not vote to advance the bill until negotiators on both sides reach an agreement on the text. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer pledged today the vote will go as planned.
On Wednesday, the Senate will take the first procedural vote on a shell bill, merely a vehicle to get the whole process started. It is not a final deadline for legislative text. It is not a cynical ploy. It is not a fish or cut bait moment. It's not an attempt to jam anyone. It's only a signal that the Senate is ready to get the process started.
The $1.2 trillion 8-year bipartisan proposal needs support from at least 10 Republicans to pass in the Senate.
Here with us now, CBN News chief political analyst David Brody. David, you heard Chuck Schumer there. Is this a cynical ploy by Democrats to set up a vote on this infrastructure deal before the legislative text is ready to go?
It's a political ploy. Look, the truth of the matter is this. The progressives in the party want to get moving on this. And really, let's be honest, the progressives, the infrastructure bill, yeah, sure, they want to get going on that. But they really want to get going on that $3.5 trillion extra infrastructure, the social infrastructure bill. But they can't do that until they get the infrastructure bill done. So that's what this is really all about. And it's honestly, what's the word I'm thinking? Oh, stupid. It's just a stupid move by Chuck Schumer. It opens Democrats up to a whole bunch of criticism to say, really, why are you doing this now? Because you have 10 Republicans, along with those 10 other Democrats, that are willing to vote for an infrastructure plan. Why would you sabotage this by going ahead and starting to debate a bill? That's what this vote would be on Wednesday, to start to debate a bill that, wait for it, hasn't even been written yet. So what are they debating exactly if the bill hasn't been written? It makes absolutely no sense.
David, you mentioned the 10 Republicans who are matching with the 10 Democrats to negotiate this bill. Democrats, though, often cite how they were burned by the illusion of bipartisanship while debating Obamacare. That wound up, of course, as we all know, a solo venture. So on the Republican side, is threatening to dash this bill a delaying tactic to run out the clock?
Not at all. It's not a delaying tactic. I mean, look, you've got 10 Republicans, John, that want to vote for $950 billion, almost $1 trillion in infrastructure. It's there. Rob Portman, Mitt Romney, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, I can go on and on. It's there for Democrats to have an easy spike in the end zone. So what in the world is Chuck Schumer doing? This isn't a delay by Republicans. These 10 Republicans are ready to vote for the bill. They've just got to go ahead and write the bill. It's going to take a little bit more time. Chuck Schumer is rushing this because progressives are pushing him. That's the truth.
No. David, switching tack here, the Republican leader in the House has named 5 Republicans to the Select Committee investigating the January 6th Capitol riot, among them Congressman Jim Jordan of Ohio. What can we read into Leader McCarthy's picks?
Well, what this means is that a physical bulldog wasn't available, so the next best thing was Jim Jordan. I mean, look, he's a bulldog. He's the human version of a bulldog, and that's exactly I didn't expect anything different from Kevin McCarthy. Jim Jordan is not only a bulldog, but he's an articulate bulldog, and he's able to really make the Republicans' points because this is going to be a dog and pony show. Boy, that's 2 dog references in one answer, which I believe might be a Faith Nation record. But the truth of the matter is, it's all dog and pony. Therefore, Jim, this select committee is really going to have ultimately no weight to do anything. The commission was jettisoned. So bottom line is that this is all about scoring political points, and Jim Jordan's one of the best at doing it.
David, only about half a minute left, not a half second. I'll give you a little bit more time than that. Republicans are seizing in on rising inflation. Is this a little bit of a risky strategy if inflation is transitory, as some experts say, and falls back by the time of the midterm elections?
Possibly, but I think it's a minuscule risk because it's not just about inflation. There's a lot of other economic numbers that are problematic, and I can just go on and on regarding the economy. Republicans have seen poll numbers knowing that Americans overall, a majority of them are concerned about the direction of prices in the economy. So I think it's a good, smart play.
All right, CBN's David Brody, we always appreciate your insights and your jokes.
Thanks, David. Up next, made in China. A critical piece of hardware that keeps the lights on is made there. Why that puts the U.S. power grid at risk.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy.
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain. Get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Welcome back. The United States and its allies are blaming hackers tied to China for cyber attacks against American entities. And as the warnings over a major attack on critical infrastructure grow more imminent, it focuses attention on network security.
But National Security Correspondent Caitlin Burke spotlights a vulnerability that's been largely ignored.
Substations like this one are in almost every city nationwide. Most house transformers, which are a huge part of getting power out to you. The larger they are, the more critical.
Transformers have been called by many people the Achilles heel of the electric grid.
Transformers take voltage sent by power plants and convert it to a level that can be distributed. Essentially, they keep electricity flowing at safe levels. While the U.S. electric grid consists of thousands of them, the high voltage carriers make up less than 3%. Even so, they're responsible for transporting 60 to 70% of our electricity.
These are 500-ton, 20 feet tall, multi-million-dollar machines.
They're also custom made in China. And experts like Joe Weiss say while the U.S. is busy securing its networks, China has the ability and opportunity to sabotage the equipment we rely on them to manufacture, essentially creating a backdoor into our electric grid.
What they have is the ability today, they have their finger on that trigger today, that they can take over that transformer and everything that transformer supplies coming in or going out. This is a very big deal.
Weiss, an engineer and independent consultant, says this is no hypothetical warning. The U.S. has already discovered backdoor electronics in a Chinese-made transformer. It was that discovery that led then-President Trump to sign an executive order in May of 2020 banning the acquisition, importation, transfer, or installation of any bulk power systems from foreign adversaries. The discovery also led to something that's never happened before.
The next large transformer from China that arrived at the Port of Houston was intercepted by the U.S. Department of Energy and taken to the Sandia National Laboratory. Remember, this is a 500-ton, multi-million-dollar machine. So there was a utility missing.
Llewellyn King is a journalist who's been covering the energy field for decades. When he approached the Department of Energy about the missing transformer, he was met with a veil of silence.
No comment is, to me, very much a comment. It says there's smoke and there must be fire.
So not only do our domestic utilities not know what's being found? Our closest allies, who also have Chinese-made transformers, do not know what has been found.
There are more than 200 of these large Chinese transformers in our electric grid today. One accounts for 10% of the power going to New York City. Another supplies 18 to 20% of the power going to Las Vegas.
And that was Caitlin Burke reporting. Coming up, a round-trip ticket to the edge of space. See the crew that made history and opened the door to passenger spaceflight.
I am Region's first ROTC graduate student.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to CBN.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
Finally tonight, after test flights with pilots and engineers, Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin completed its first passenger flight this morning.
Blue Origin's new Shepard rocket traveled to the edge of space and back in 11 minutes, carrying a historic crew.
On our way to space with our first human crew. Go, Jeff, go, Mark, go, Wally, go, Oliver. You are going to space.
You are going to space. Bezos was joined by his brother Mark, along with Wally Bunk, an 82-year-old woman pilot and a teenage paying tourist.
What we're hoping to do is to build the road to space so that future generations will be able to do amazing things.
It took the rocket only 3 minutes to reach space and for 2 of the passengers to make history as the youngest and oldest would-be astronauts.
Jenna, it was riveting TV and watching history happen.
Oh, it was a proud moment.
Thanks for watching.
Have a great night.